Hello, Internet. It is I, Malik Aaron, and welcome back to my Winter 2020 box office predictions. And can you guess what we're going to be talking about today? If your guess was a horror movie, then congratulations! Because that's exactly what we're going to be talking about, because I clearly don't talk about horror movies enough on this channel. Anywho, yeah, so we're going to be talking about the Invisible Man remake, Invisible Man 2020, whatever you want to call it. And I know what you're thinking. Oh my god, Malik. Another horror movie? I know. I know. You're frustrated. I'm frustrated. We're all sick to death of these movies at this point. I understand. But here's the thing. See, unlike all the other horror movies I talked about this year, this one actually looks interesting. Because it's clear that the people who made this movie actually put in effort. So I'm going to be far more forgiving towards this movie, when compared to some of the other videos I made about horror movies. So you're not going to be seeing like a pissed off version of me like you saw in the Bram's The Boy 2 prediction video. So, there's that. So yeah, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. Actually, before we do that, I'd like to give a quick little history lesson about this movie, because you may not know this, but this was not the Invisible Man movie we were supposed to get. No, there was another one we were supposed to get. And I'm going to be telling that story right now. So, let's just flashback a couple years. So Universal Pictures, who, distributing Invisible Man here, they were looking at Marvel's success with the cinematic universe. And this was like during a time where every studio wanted a cinematic universe. Like, it was stupid. Like, what was it? Warner Brothers had the DCEU and the Monsterverse. Sony wanted an Amazing Spider-Man movie universe. Look how well that turned out. Paramount wanted a Transformers cinematic universe. Again, that worked out successfully. Who else wanted a cinematic universe? I forget. I think there were some others that were planned but never got off the ground. And so Universal wanted a piece of the pie. And so they were like, we want a cinematic universe, but what should we base it on? Like, what characters should we put in this cinematic universe? They thought for a little bit, and then they thought to themselves, I know. The monster movies from like the 30s and 40s, like those movies, those characters, they all need a reboot. They all need an update. They all need to be in the same universe. And, the Universal monsters, pretty sure you all know who they are, The Mummy, Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Invisible Man, all that. Yeah, they wanted to give a 21st century update to all those. And so their plan was very simple. They were going to start off with The Mummy, with Tom Cruise, and then they were going to do some others. I know there was a Bride of Frankenstein movie with Angelina Jolie planned, and I forgot about the others. But there was an Invisible Man movie planned with Johnny Depp as the lead role. Okay? All this was planned because Universal was so confident that the Dark Universe, as they called it, would be a smash hit. In fact, they were so confident in it that they put the freaking logo of it before The Mummy. Literally, like, after you see the Universal Pictures logo, it transforms into the Dark Universe logo. They were that confident that The Mummy would be a surefire hit. And boy, it was not. That movie bombed with critics, audiences, and the box office. And because of its failure, it led to the death of the Dark Universe. That's right, the Dark Universe only lasted one movie. Just one. It's so sad. It's hilarious. And so you're like, okay, well, I guess that's the end of that. No. See, instead of doing a cinematic universe, Universal has ultimately decided to just make all these monster movies separate. Like, they're all in their own little worlds. And so the Invisible Man movie, a new version of it, was actually announced this last year. So they're like, hey, this is not part of a cinematic universe. This is separate. This is its own thing. And that was that. And that's how we got here. That's how we got the Invisible Man 2020. So I hope you found that a little interesting. Because I know I did. Because honestly, I didn't even know, like about 6 months ago, I didn't even know this movie was really coming out. I was like, oh, Invisible Man movie? Okay, sure. But yeah, that's the basic story, behind this movie's existence. So yeah, pros, cons, let's go. Pros. See, unlike many horror movies this year, The Invisible Man is actually getting some positive feedback. Like, last I checked on Rotten Tomatoes, it was at a 90 something, like a 91%, which is very high for a horror movie, especially for a horror movie at this time of the year. Like that is pretty amazing. And its early audience score is also very strong too. So I feel like, for unlike, say, I don't know, Birds of Prey, where a strong Rotten Tomatoes score didn't help that movie at all. Grant, that movie had a whole bunch of problems, but the audience score, the critics score, despite being strong, didn't help the movie. I feel like the critics score will help The Invisible Man, because I feel like people are just like, oh my gosh, there's been so many bad horror movies, just one after the other, like an assembly line, that they look at that 91%, they're like, oh, this one's good? Ooh, I've been waiting for a good horror movie for so long. I'll watch that. And then there you go. That's how it works. So yeah, pro number one, great critic score and great audience score. Both will definitely help this movie. Pro number two is that this, The Invisible Man, this is not going to be like your average, I don't know, your generic jump scare horror movie. You know the ones I'm talking about. The ones where it's just like, 1, 2, 3, loud noise. 1, 2, 3, thunder. 1, 2, 3, someone coming from behind the corner. Like that. Like, I hate those type of movies. A lot of people hate those movies because they're cheap. Like, they're both cheap and, how much money, it costs, and because they're cheap, as the scares aren't earned. This one's different. This is more of a psychological thriller, which, again, it's far different from every other horror movie we've seen this year. So that definitely helps it stand out. And from the trailers, a lot of this stuff is generally creepy. Like, it's not cheesy horror. It's not like really corny horror where you're just like, really, you're gonna scare someone with that. No, like, the trailers actually do their job. It's quite unsettling, having like someone who, well, if you don't know the plot of this movie, is that, our main character here, played by Elizabeth Moss, she's in an abusive relationship. She gets out. Her ex commits suicide and leaves her like inheritance, and so he leaves her some money. And you think, okay, that's all fine and good. And then it turns out he managed to find a way to make himself invisible. So, like, Elizabeth Moss, character, she can sense him. She knows he's there, but no one else does. So just imagine just some invisible person that you don't even know is there, just basically stalking you. That's terrifying. So Yeah, I think that's a very strong premise for this movie. I think that will definitely help it. So yeah, pro number two is the fact that it's a psychological horror and it actually looks scary. Trying to think what else. Pro number three, I guess, is that this movie is clearly aimed more towards older audiences. This is not a teen flick, which, again, helps it stand out because a lot of the horror movies have been very teen focused. Well, the primary audience has been teens. Fantasy Island 2020 is a prime example of that. And so by targeting adults means it could have, better legs than a lot of those movies. So, yeah, that's another pro. All right, let's get to the cons. This movie is both a remake and a horror movie. And everyone their mother has complained about remakes, and I have to agree too because a lot of remakes are pretty much pointless. They're made for the sole reason of making money. All they want to do is either make money or like make like a newer version, have some type of message attached to it, some social message, which is not a smart idea at all. So, yeah, like, so this being both, and besides horror movies, we've had so many this year, it's so stupid. We've had The Grudge, Underwater, The Turning, Gretel and Hansel, Fantasy Island, Bram's the Boy 2, and now this is seven. 7 in 2 months. It's, it drives me insane. And I feel like that might drive people away from the movie. They'll be like, oh my god, another one. God. And they might just wait to see A Quiet Place Part 2 instead, which is what I assume a lot of people will do anyway, because A Quiet Place Part 2 looks freaking good. Looks great. I know I'll watch that. But, yeah, like, this movie being both a horror movie and a remake, that's kind of a red flag for a lot of people, so. Granted, remakes can still make money. I mean, look at Aladdin and The Lion King. They're prime examples of that, despite both of those movies not being very good at all. So, yeah. That's con number one. Con number two is that the actress, Elizabeth Moss, like, this movie is all about her. The marketing is all about her. She is front and center. Like, she's going to make or break this movie. Because, box office wise, she doesn't have a clear track record, especially as a lead. She's mainly been a supporting character. I mean, she was in The Kitchen. I doubt any of you even remember that movie. That movie bombed, so I don't know. So, yeah. Yeah, this movie's pretty much all on her. Like, if this movie succeeds, then that's great for her. And if it fails, well, she's not going to get any work anytime soon. So, yeah. And also, the director of this movie, if I remember, who was he? Leigh Whannell. Leigh, whatever. Uh, as a director, he's has kind of an iffy-ish track record. I mean, he was part of. I mean, Insidious Chapter 3 made money, but it was the worst performing Insidious movie. Then Upgrade, although a lot of people loved it, that barely made any money at all. So I don't know. I don't know. But, yeah. But hey, if this movie succeeds, then it'll be a huge boost to everyone involved. Oh, I forgot to mention, this movie's being produced by Jason Blum. Pretty sure you've heard that name many times on this channel at this point. Yeah, Jason Blum, he has a production company. He specializes in low budget horror. I mean, this movie, obviously, you see right here, costs like, I don't know, $7 million. Very cheap. And Jason Blum, he's had his hits, he's had his duds. Black Christmas, Happy Death Day Part to You. But for the most part, his track record is very successful. So even if this movie doesn't have a great opening, it'll probably make a profit no matter what, unless it just truly tanks, which I highly doubt is going to happen. So yeah, opening weekend, I'm going to say 25 million or higher. So probably 25 to 30 million, I think, is ideal for this movie. Be very good. Easily the biggest debut for a horror movie since, I think, It Chapter 2. Yeah, like It Chapter 2 from like last freaking fall. So that's great. And then overall probably reach 70 million, 70, 80-ish million. Again, for horror movies, it's hard to predict the legs because a lot of the times they're extremely front loaded. They don't survive past the first weekend. This one could be different, but this movie also has some competition. I mean, we got The Hunt and A Quiet Place Part 2, which is gonna kill this movie. But that's like a long while away. So I won't have to worry about that until, what, 3 weeks from now? So yeah, probably. So I'm gonna say 70, 80 million total, and that's that. It's the only major movie coming out this weekend. I know there's like this Impractical Jokers, the movie, and My Hero Academia. I don't really count those because one is an anime. Because anime movies being theatrically released, that's so complicated. It's impossible to predict. I don't even want to try. And then Practical Jokers, I'll just make a quick little note of that. If you like the show, this movie's for you. If you don't like the show, then you probably don't care about it. That's all I need. That's all I'm gonna say. So, yeah, we're done with winter. We're done. That's it. And now we move to spring, where, I mean, it's not terrible, but it's not that great either. I mean, next week, gotta talk about Onward, the latest Pixar movie that for some reason, I don't know if it's just me, it doesn't feel like a Pixar movie. It feels like something from DreamWorks or something. I don't know. The Way Back, basketball flick, Emma, I guess. And then what else? Bloodshot, The Hunt, I Still Believe, My Spy, 4 drastically different movies. And then we got Quiet Place Part 2. Very excited about that. And then, God, Mulan. Can't wait to talk about that movie. And then that's it for March. And then April, there's Lovebirds, The New Mutants. That's going to be interesting. Peter Rabbit 2, The Runaway, the sequel we all demanded to be made. No Time to Die, which will probably be the biggest movie out of the spring, easily. Antlers, Trolls World Tour, again, a highly requested remake, highly requested sequel. And then there's Antebellum, and then that's it. Then we get to summer. So yeah, things are gonna be interesting, to say the least. So yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment. You want to, turn on notification bell and stuff. If you want to check out some of my other predictions, I have a whole playlist, my winter 2020 prediction playlist on the homepage. I got my holiday 2019 prediction playlist. Got my box office recap playlist. Since February's over, I really should get started on that recap video. It'll probably come out around the second week of March, I'm guessing. So, yeah, look forward to that. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out.